Welcome to another episode of The Aspires. I'm your host, Mark Milburn, and today's guest, I don't think I could even do him justice unless I read this perfectly. Most men are oblivious to the concept of style, especially when it comes to their homes, but Litchfield has managed to make men realize that candles, keychains, mats, and skincare products support one's identity and create a feeling in one's abode. It truly is about how we live. I'd like to welcome Jonathan Litchfield from the Litchfield store.
Thank you.
Is it the Litchfield store?
No, it's just Litchfield.
Litchfield.
Just Litchfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we'll get into this. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Calgary. My family moved to Japan for almost 4 years. And then in my early teenage years, we moved to Vancouver, and this is where I grew up for the rest of the time.
Right. And then from Japan came a lot of influence into what you're doing now, into selection of products and what we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Have you ever had a desk job, a 9-to-5 desk job?
I have had a job that is at a desk, but I've never had like a cubicle, desk job, grayish walls, and calculator. No, I've never had that kind of a desk job.
And do you have one now?
I definitely don't.
Okay, good. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I didn't have any one specific thing that I wanted to be when I grew up. As most kids do, like I had a number of things that I wanted to be, from like, doctor or a fireman or like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got into high school, I thought maybe I might want to be an architect, some sort of designer, maybe an artist.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't ever think I'd own a retail store.
I do think there's going to be a commonality amongst these answers amongst the next 22 episodes. Okay, let's get right into it.
Sure.
What is your business?
I own a retail store.
Awesome. And what makes Litchfield unique?
I think, there are a number of things that I hope makes Litchfield unique. When I was starting the shop, I always wanted a store that would carry interesting brands and of things that were super useful and well made enough that they would be kind of legacy items. So that's one thing. Another is I've always really tried to make the store feel a certain way. That has been one of my main goals, actually, with everything from the way that I've designed the shop to the products that I carry, to the music that I play, like all of it is specifically designed to make you feel a way. And
that's the key honestly, I think from my research about you and from being in your store and everything, that's going to be the takeaway from today is you hit the business of feel. And we'll get to that in a little bit. How did you come up with this idea? Like, what essentially was your trigger point, your tipping point to decide to open up a retail store?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was the president of a design company called Sturdy here in Vancouver. And it became clear that I was ready to transition out of that. And I had built a couple of brands for some different companies, and I wanted to test out to see if my ideas of how to build a brand would actually work. So there was that element, and then at the same time, a number of my friends, really close friends, were noticing the way that I pull things into my life and organize them and live, and they were like, you need to just make a store with these things. And of course I didn't really think that was feasible, but ultimately that's what happened.
What's super interesting is you did an interview that I saw, and it says you like to edit the things in your life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the most beautiful terminology, because if we say change, manipulate, it's a negative connotation, but edit, you're essentially just taking something and giving it your own twist.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible way to proposition that whole situation. Once you got the idea, what were your steps to executing on it? You're like, I want to do a retail store. What the hell?
Once I decided to actually execute, it was a pretty quick process. I started working on a business plan, actually figuring out what would make, like as you say, what would make it different, how I would do that, and started looking for a space. And about the same time that I found the space, that was one of the changing points, because I found the space, I knew I had to take it or not.
Yeah.
Like most real estate, you don't have a long time to sit on it and think. So I decided to jump in, and that's when I was really committed to finishing the business plan and making it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you find your suppliers, and why did you source the specific ones out that you did?
My opening inventory was full of a bunch of products that either I had accumulated in my own life as I've edited things in and out of my life,
right.
Or things that I had found as I'd been traveling and had taken note of, or there were a couple of things that because I've got a really great family and a close-knit group of family, and we all think the same way. So I had a bunch of other people that I could draw on and tap into things that they had edited into and out of their lives.
Right.
So that was the three main ways that I found product.
And I'm going to go back to your saying for your company, which is how we live.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is if you were to say we and define we, I think for you it's family.
Yep. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's get right into my favorite question. The whole reason I'm kind of doing this thing is, what business are you really in? So I'm going to let you answer that.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm going to say is that typically companies look to sell products and customers look to buy solutions.
Yeah.
And it's super easy if you think about, and I'll go back to the Apple situation. Apple, yes, they make computers, but see, essentially they sell self-empowerment,
Yeah.
right? Nike makes shoes, but they sell motivation.
Yeah.
What does Litchfield do?
You've drawn some really awesome parallels. I mean, not that I would ever put myself in league with those companies, but essentially, I've never wanted to be a retailer that sells stuff.
Right.
It leaves me feeling pretty gross to think of the typical consumerism business model that retail is essentially built on.
Right.
Retailers generally sell clothes or products that are intended to wear out quickly so that you need to come back and buy more, and I intend to do the opposite of that. What I want to do is help people also curate their own lives, edit their lives, so that they're full of only the things that they love. And ultimately the reason that I want to do that is, and this is going back pretty deep to the motivation behind the business and what it all draws on,
right.
but the how we live concept of how I was raised, you know, and ultimately that was in a home that felt super secure and calm and orderly and organized, and it just always felt good to be there. And I think as I've gone through life, I've realized that many people don't feel that way about their home.
No, not at all.
And it was something that always kind of I took for granted because that's how our home felt.
We'll take it even a step further. We don't actually spend that much time awake in our homes.
Yeah.
If you have a 9-to-5 job, you're 9 to 5, and does your work feel like home? Is it inviting? Is it encompassing? Does it carry any of these entities? And then you get home, and if you're not building it into your home, where are you ever?
And if you don't have that, ultimately you don't have that grounding spot, that is your refuge, your sanctuary. I'm lucky enough that because I can control my atmosphere of my work and my home, I'm in this ultimate state. No, I'm not. But I truly believe that home should feel like that, and so ultimately that's the business that I'm in, is helping people create this sense of solidness, of calm, of quiet, of sanctuary.
So we spoke about this a little bit earlier. One of the things that when I first walked into your store, it was very memorable. And not only was it memorable because of the design of the shop, every detail was specifically picked to be there, but there was a smell. And it's not like a bad smell.
Thank goodness.
What's incredible is the candles. And the reason I want to draw attention to the candles, of course, you have tons of amazing other products, but the candle for me is something that shifts the paradigm from being a typical female or feminine product and has now shifted into something that men are looking at and buying.
Totally.
What's even crazier is there's an incredible saying, which is when you start to focus on the emotion and the feelings of a product, you don't focus on the price. And you'll also notice that fine candles targeted at men are quite pricey. So tell me about, I'm going to read the description of it. Is this that one?
This is actually number one.
This is number one. Okay.
That's number two.
But I want to read this. And what's so cool about this is if I was to go online and not have a candle, this is the description, and I would have to understand what it is.
Right.
The intoxication of a sweltering night. This fragrance conjures languid restlessness, falling love, momentarily just until the morning lifts the dense heat off the dry grass. Dancing close, salted hair and toasted skin. Hot night air, softening slowly, the scent of abandon. That's not me buying a candle. That's me buying an escape from reality. That's me buying a manipulation of my space around me. Your shop isn't in the business of selling products. It's essentially the business of selling feeling and emotionally connected products.
Yep.
And that's what's so incredible. And the fact is that I go back to that original question, is what makes the Litchfield store unique? What would your answer be now?
I hope that it would be that. I hope that it does. I think people do comment quite often that it just feels different. And often people will come in, and there's even people that work in the neighborhood that come in on their lunch break and they're like, you know what, I just needed 10 minutes in Litchfield today because it feels so crazy out there. And
I'm moving my studio to
well, you're welcome to. That's why I have a couch set up in the back, so that you can have a couple seconds, and ultimately that is the highest compliment, because that's what I'm ultimately looking to do.
Right.
Is to create that feeling of, yeah.
So I'm going to go into another part that I think is really good, and the reason I hope people watch this is either they're doing a business, they want to leave it, they're in something that they're not happy with, or they just want to be inspired and hear a great story. The reason it's called the Aspirers, it's not even a real word, but the reason I like it is because people have aspired to accomplish these things. They've been inspired, they aspired, and they've accomplished, or they're continuing to. What advice would you give to people who have ideas like yours but just don't know where to start?
Honestly, I think that the first step is to sort it out. Figure out what you feel. Figure out what you're looking for.
Right.
There's often a lot of people, when asked that question, I think the answer is, well, you just need to jump in and do it and like find your passion. But really, you need to figure out what you want.
Right.
Because if you just start running, you may not be going in the right direction.
I love that analogy.
So you need to figure out where you want to run towards. You don't know exactly what the end goal needs to look like. I don't think any of us really do. But you need to know the direction you want to run in. So that would be my first goal.
Good piece of advice.
The first bit of advice.
Yeah.
And then it would be to make sure that do a bit of a self inventory.
Yeah.
And make sure that you've got what it takes to reach your goal. And I think that ultimately the people that have big, crazy, hairy goals and get there, it's because they have so much passion for that thing. We all would love a perfect body or, a giant house with a swimming pool.
Yeah.
But we're not all willing to do the work that it takes to get that.
Totally. And I'd say that there's a lot of things that come into play into that. It's not just work, but it's luck, timing.
Totally. Absolutely.
Connections, networking.
But you have to be willing and committed. So figure out what you want, figure out if you're committed enough to do it, and then start to put stuff in place. And then the other, I think maybe unusual piece of advice is don't wait until you've got it all figured out to start.
Oh, hit that one. Give me a little bit more on that.
I think that if you wait until you've got all of your ducks lined up in a row, your business plan is perfect, your financing is just right, whatever it is, if you wait for that to happen, you will never start because you're never ready.
There's never a perfect time.
It's never a perfect time. It is never going to be ultimately organized. So wait until you've got enough that you think you can jump and then jump. Because once you jump, that's when you start to swim hard. And when you start to actually do it is when you start to swim hard.
That is awesome. That is, I've definitely jumped a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's when you actually start to make things happen.
Totally true. What are the biggest mistakes and myths you see in business? And what are the biggest wastes of time?
I think one of the biggest myths in business is if you're passionate enough about something, it will work.
I feel like that's for every actor.
Totally. I don't think that that's actually true, and I feel like a lot of people feel like they've maybe lost out because they weren't passionate enough or something.
Right.
It takes, like as you say, you've got to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea and a bunch of other things.
But that doesn't mean that the best part about it, and I'm going to interject on that, is that doesn't mean give up because you're not being the luckiest person. It's not the right time. It's not because you're never going to know those things.
No, you also have to work hard through some of those things.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And there's a huge amount that I think it's the most invaluable aspect, which is what you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I've started multiple businesses that failed and cost tons of money and put my family under stress and things like that. But the biggest thing is what I was able to walk away and learn. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen that on not only just the own businesses you've been a part of.
Yep.
Buying the wrong inventory that doesn't sell, and all of a sudden you have 40 hairbrushes that you just don't need. Yeah. What are you doing? Why are you doing what you do?
Because answers like this they sound so cheesy.
No.
Ultimately, I truly feel like I was really lucky to have the start that I had, and like I said, the upbringing that I had in the environment that I had, and to understand the things that I understand, partly from my home, partly from my family, extended family, partly from my time in Japan. I learned a lot of lessons, but I am looking to make that difference in other people's life, to make them feel good about their space.
That's awesome. Because
that's a big, like you say, you spend a lot of time in the space you're in.
It's incredible because you've managed to curate a business, and I'm going to go back to this again. You've managed to create a business where you're selling emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
And whoever thought that was a business? Whoever thought that
whoever thought you'd sell that through things.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite questions. I didn't actually get to ask I did kind of get to ask the Chasing Sunrise guys this. Their whole business principle is essentially based on this, is what is your what if question? So what I mean by that is, what if everyone in the world woke up at 4:30 a.m. and could become it was like a worldwide meditation time? What is your what if question for your business? For me in my gym, it's like, what if everyone in my community could come to my facility and just get educated?
Right.
They don't have to join. They don't have to participate lifelong. I just want them to walk through my front door and become educated, and then leave and take that education with them. So what would be your what if question?
Kind of going back to that feeling thing. What if everybody could walk through the door and spend 10 minutes in Litchfield and just have like a little bit of that quiet and, you know, smell the smell and like just look at the things that are not jamming the shelves, but there's space in the shelves, and find a little bit of that space and that serenity in their life for 10 minutes in a day. What would that be like? I'm coming to Litchfield just to hang out.
Good. I do it all the time. I go in there.
You're welcome to.
Jonathan, thank you so much for being a part of the Aspirers.
Thanks, Mark.
Tune in let's do this. If you want to learn more about Litchfield, or you want to see any of the products, the store is located
at 38 Water Street,
and you can check their stuff out online at
litchfieldtheshop.com.
Litchfield the shop, not the store.
And the Instagram is the same.
Yeah.
At Litchfield the shop.
Okay. Tune in next time, guys. We've got another great guest, completely different industry. Used to be the head strength and conditioning coach at UBC, and now he runs his own business. I look forward to dealing with him and his whole high energy, fuck the man mentality.
Sounds amazing.
Until then, Jonathan, thanks again, and tune in for next time.
Thank you.